a rumor around this time that there was a $1 million bounty on your head.
Yeah.
Did you hear about it?
Yeah. At the end of the day, is you gonna be able to go back and get that money? Like, is you gonna make it back home? Cause it's like, it's not like I might just sit here and let no one come kill me. So it's like, I'm gonna stand on my 10. I'm gonna stand my grind.
When rumors hit the streets that $1 million bounty was placed on Lil Tim's head, everybody thought the situation had reached its final chapter. But instead of running or hiding, Lil Tim did the unexpected. He doubled down. And NBA YoungBoy didn't reward him with money. He rewarded him with something far more dangerous: loyalty. This is the moment Lil Tim responded to FF's threat, and why that gravedigger chain proves he's ready to protect YoungBoy with his life.
Damn, H.
Yo, what's good, fam? We're back with another breakdown, and listen to this story right here. This is a type of situation that makes you rethink everything you thought you understood about loyalty, street politics, and what it truly means to ride for your people. When I first heard the rumor, $1 million bounty allegedly placed on people connected to NBA YoungBoy, I thought it was just internet noise. But then Lil Tim stood up. YoungBoy put that gravedigger chain around his neck, and the whole narrative flipped upside down. This isn't rap beef. This isn't back and forth diss track. This is real street consequences, fam. The type that can change lives forever, so buckle up. Because once you hear how deep this goes, you'll look at this entire situation completely differently. Let's take it from the beginning. To understand how we got here, you need to know this didn't start overnight. The tension between NBA YoungBoy and OFD didn't just appear. It built up over years, rooted in Chicago politics and a long chain of alliances tied directly to King Von and Lil Durk's collective. OFD, only the family, is Durk's crew out of Chicago, one of the most respected, feared, and influential groups in the drill scene. Durk built an empire from scratch, and when King Von came home, OFD became unstoppable. Von was a street narrator, the rapper who could paint pictures with his words and then prove every bar in real life. The streets loved him. But everything changed on November 6, 2020, when King Von was killed outside a hookah lounge in Atlanta. The man who fired the shot? Lil Tim, rolling with Quando Rondo that night. Now, whether you think it was self-defense or not doesn't matter here. The courts may define it one way, but the streets don't move by legal definitions. They move by loyalty, respect, and revenge. T.O. Von's people, their brother was gone, and somebody had to pay that. YoungBoy and Quando Rondo were close. Not rap associates, real brothers. So when Tim defended Quando that night, a line was drawn down one side, OFD and Chicago on the other. YoungBoy, Quando, Lil Tim, and the entire 4KT movement. This was no longer just one incident. It turned into a battle over loyalty, pride, and consequences. For months, it stayed inside music, subliminal shots and songs, Instagram stories, lyrics people thought were aimed at each other, fans decoding every line like detectives. But then the streets started talking. And when the streets talk, things are about to get real. Word spread that OFD wasn't just angry, they were organized. And according to multiple street sources, there was real money on the table, $1 million bounty allegedly placed on Lil Tim. Let that sink in. $1 million is enough to make enemies out of strangers. It's enough to make people reconsider their loyalty. It's the type of price that keeps a man looking over his shoulder every single day. And here's the wild part. Lil Tim didn't fold. He didn't hide. He didn't go ghost. Instead, he did something nobody expected. He responded publicly. He went online and basically said, "Yeah, I heard what's being said. I'm still here." That takes a different level of courage or a different level of crazy, depending on who you ask. Some people called it reckless. Others called it fearless. But everyone agreed on one thing. Lil Tim wasn't moving like a man who felt threatened. He went live, posted videos, still popped out in public, still moved around like nothing changed. And that's when NBA YoungBoy stepped in with a power move that changed the entire situation. That YoungBoy gave Lil Tim the gravedigger chain. Let me explain how big that is. In street and hip-hop culture, chains aren't just jewelry. They're symbols. A chain means respect. A chain means protection. A chain means your family now. And the gravedigger chain is YoungBoy's personal symbol, the emblem of his movement. Be why give it to Lil Tim. YoungBoy was publicly saying, "He rides for me. I ride for him. That if you have a problem with Tim, you have a problem with me." It wasn't a gift. It was a declaration. And by accepting that chain, Lil Tim accepted everything that comes with it.
Damn, H. I see why Chris didn't want to get that bitch up. I'm being bossy. Yeah.
The gravedigger chain didn't just mean protection. It came with responsibility, too. That chain officially made Lil Tim a part of the 4KT movement. IT meant he was now family. IT meant he represented YoungBoy everywhere he went. From that moment on, Tim wasn't just defending himself. He was defending a brand, a legacy, a movement, and an entire organization counting on him to act wisely. And that's when people started realizing just how strategic YoungBoy really is, because this was an emotional decision. This was chess, not checkers. Think about it from OFD's perspective. They already had issues with YoungBoy, the music beef, the subliminals, the King Von situation. Everything was already tense. But now, YoungBoy publicly aligned himself with the exact man who pulled the trigger. He didn't support Tim quietly. He didn't send money behind the scenes. He gave him one of the most recognizable chains in hip-hop and said, "This is my brother." That was a power move. Because if anything happened to Tim after that, it wouldn't just be about Tim. It would be a direct move against YoungBoy himself. That YoungBoy basically took the bounty on Tim's head and extended it to himself. He made it impossible to separate the two. Do you go after Tim? You're going after YoungBoy. But there was another purpose to what IT showed Tim and the entire culture what real loyalty looks like. YoungBoy could have stayed out of it. He could have kept his distance. He could have let Tim handle his own problems. But instead, he stepped in completely. Not just with support, but with protection under his name, which is one of the most powerful things a person can give in street culture. The streets reacted immediately. Social media exploded. OFD supporters said YoungBoy was disrespecting Von's legacy. 4KT supporters said Dirk, and OFD needed to let it go because the legal system had already ruled on the case. Meanwhile, the rest of the internet was in shock over how high the stakes had suddenly become. But a lot of people missed the bigger picture. This move completely shifted the power balance. Before the chain, Lil Tim was an isolated target. Even with friends, he stood mostly alone. After the chain, he became part of a massive loyal movement with millions of fans, real street backing major resources, and a leader willing to risk it all. YoungBoy was essentially saying, if you want him, you've got to go through all of us. And that changed everything. Lil Tim's public image transformed. Before the chain, Tim was mostly known as the guy who killed King Von. That label followed him everywhere. But after YoungBoy embraced him publicly, his identity shifted. He became YoungBoy's man. 4KT Tim, the gravedigger, the shooter who got backed by one of the biggest artists in the game. Tim started moving differently. He became confident. His social media presence changed, flashing the chain, throwing up 4KT, posting boldly, appearing in YoungBoy's videos. He wasn't the shadows anymore. He became part of the narrative, not as a target, but as someone with real protection and real power behind him. YoungBoy's reputation went through the roof. This move proved one thing. YoungBoy stands on business, in an industry where loyalties flip for fame and opportunities. YoungBoy publicly showed he is willing to risk everything for his people. Even people who don't listen to his music respected that. Real recognizes real. The bigger question, street code versus legal code. Tim was acquitted in court. Legally, he was ruled to have acted in self-defense. But the streets don't accept courtroom definitions. From their perspective, Von died. Someone has to answer for it. This tension, legal justice versus street justice, is the heart of this entire situation. What does this mean for hip-hop now? First, social media changed everything. Beef used to happen off camera. Now every move is filmed, posted, debated, and turned into content. This isn't just entertainment. This is life or death playing out live. Second, symbolic gestures matter more than ever. That chain wasn't just jewelry. IT became a cultural moment. Analyzed on podcasts, debated on YouTube, spread across TikTok. That YoungBoy turned a piece of gold into a message the whole world saw. Third, this can't go on forever. They're too powerful. Camps both locked in, both refusing to back down. The alleged bounty is still out there. Tim is still wearing that chain. OFD is still standing strong for Vaughn. Something will eventually break, and when it does, it likely won't be peaceful. A message to the youth watching. This might look like loyalty and strength, but it's also a trap. Vaughn died at 26. Countless others died even younger. This cycle of retaliation has cost lives for years. At some point, we have to ask if this is a culture we want to keep feeding. But we also have to understand, people like Tim and YoungBoy live a reality most will never see. When you face their battles, their losses, their world, your definition of loyalty and survival is different. It's easy to judge, harder to understand. The bottom line, this story, the bounty, Lil Tim, and the gravedigger chain, is bigger than rap beef that it's about. Loyalty that can cost you everything, symbols that change narrative survival in a world with no easy choices, and real human beings inside a cycle that seems endless. Lil Tim went from a name in a news articlito, a symbol of loyalty, defiance, and survival. YoungBoy went from superstar to a man willing to put everything on the line for his people. OFD continues honoring Vaughn's name, refusing to let the memory fade. The stakes? Higher than ever. The culture? Watching every move. This isn't entertainment anymore. This is real life, real pressure, real consequences. SO, tell me in the comments, was YoungBoy's move strategic or reckless? Will OFD ever let this go? And what does this mean for the future of hip-hop? Hit that subscribe button, because this story is far from overt NO cap. Peace.